I'm Tommy Tran, and boy, when we talk about the city of Philadelphia, they certainly love their sports. The Phillies are in contention to win a World Series, and for the football team, they would like to have the Philadelphia Eagles contend for a Super Bowl once again. Let's be joined now by our lead NFL insider, Jonathan Jones. So, JJ, a lot of changes to Nick Sirianni's coaching staff. I'm curious, are the coordinators still wearing "Welcome, my name is" stickers on their shirts these days?
Didn't see those out here, but yes, it is a new group and somewhat same as an older group. Vic Fangio back as the defensive coordinator with the Philadelphia Eagles, and so we know Vic Fangio, whose defensive scheme has been replicated, has been duplicated, has been copied and imitated, but there's only the real one. And so they got the real one in Vic Fangio. Perhaps if you ask the Miami Dolphins, perhaps a little too real last season. But Vic Fangio is a guy who he's going to bring that attacking style of defense back here, something that was sorely missing for the Philadelphia Eagles throughout the season, but certainly in the latter half of the year. Then you have Kellen Moore as the offensive coordinator, a guy who was at the top of a lot of coaching lists 2 years ago. The bloom started to fall off the rose a little bit. Remember, he was with the Dallas Cowboys. He leaves there. Mike McCarthy takes over. He goes to the Chargers. And listen, not going to put everything on Kellen Moore there with the Chargers, but he leaves there. He comes to the Philadelphia Eagles, a franchise that really wanted him, because look right there. Those last 7 games, 1-6, and how the offense really just fell off a cliff. We're going to see a whole lot more motion, a lot more shifts. I mean, this is still kind of Nick Sirianni's offense. He still calls things as the head coach, though Kellen Moore calling the plays. And so this is a group that they never really wanted to do a lot of motions and shifts last year, but it was noticeable. They were probably too much to the extreme on the low end in a league where that's all you really see nowadays when you're talking about the Rams or the Niners or the Miami Dolphins. So I would anticipate seeing a lot more of that. These coordinators, they are wondering what can be unburdened by what has been. And so that is what we're going to be seeing from these 24 Philadelphia Eagles.
All right, so those are some of the things that we can see on the field. Of course, when a team's doing well, the quarterback gets all the praise. When they're not doing so well, of course, getting a lot of criticism, which Jalen Hurts got his fair share last year. What are you thinking in terms of what you've seen, who you've talked to, about what this Hurts offense will look like, and Jalen himself?
Yeah, I'm very excited about it because last year he and the entire offense took a step back, and I think the blame can kind of be spread around to a lot of places. Maybe they were letting the outside noise affect them. Maybe offensive coordinator Brian Johnson and Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts and that triumvirate weren't working well together. I do know this, that Sirianni spent the entire offseason evaluating and sort of autopsying, if you will, what went wrong there at the end of the season, and that's for the entire team, offense, defense, special teams, how he was as a football coach. But when I see Jalen Hurts out here, he looks like the guy who was the MVP runner-up a couple years ago and not the Jalen Hurts that we saw after Thanksgiving. It's really going to help that he has that guy right there, Saquon Barkley, yet another weapon to hand off and throw the football to. This is still an offense that I'm waiting to see, and we're going to get maybe a glimpse of it this week when the Philadelphia Eagles play the Baltimore Ravens in the preseason. What is this offensive line going to look like without Jason Kelce, right? The multi-time All-Pro. Now it's Cam Jurgens there at center. And then you start to kind of fan out a little bit. This was an offensive line that was third best in run blocking. Saquon Barkley is coming from a New York Giants team that was third worst in run blocking. And so you go to the left and it's Landon Dickerson and Jordan Mailata. Okay, feel really good right there. But then you move to the right and you have Lane Johnson at right tackle, who's been dealing with injuries the last couple of years. And then the right guard. It's a position that the Eagles aren't entirely sure who's going to win it. Maybe it's going to be Mekhi Becton. Who knows? That is something, probably the position that is biggest up for grabs, one of the largest question marks. And we have to see how he winds up going from tackle with the New York Jets to guard with the Philadelphia Eagles. But Jalen Hurts absolutely locked in, and he has plenty of weapons around him to recapture the magic that he had a couple of seasons ago.
JJ, let's get back to Vic Fangio. What's the early return on what this Vic Fangio defense will look like?
Well, you got C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who just works in Philadelphia just works in the Fangio system, right? It didn't really work as well as it should have in Detroit, and who knows really what the situation was there and why it didn't. And so you start on the back end, and actually talking with Saquon Barkley earlier today, he was mentioning how he's the biggest trash talker out here, but it does elevate the team a lot. You look on the outside, there's no doubt Darius Slay getting a little gray in the beard, but who's going to be the cornerback 2 opposite him? Isaiah Rodgers appears to be in the driver's seat there. You have James Bradbury, who has gone from corner to safety, and he's actually been performing better than probably a lot of people anticipated and expected. You move to the next level, the middle level of the defense. The Eagles are not alone in probably wanting a little bit better linebacker play. They went out and got Devin White, who was not re-signed by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We'll see how that winds up working out. And then up front, they're able to get to the passer from the inside. My gosh, Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis constantly getting pressure. I saw today getting their paws on the football when Jalen Hurts or the backup, Kenny Pickett, was throwing passes out here, smacking them down at the line of scrimmage. You may want a little bit more on the outside, and we'll see how Nolan Smith winds up becoming more of a pass rusher. We know he's a little bit light in terms of weight, but this is still a group that they're dealing with the departure of Fletcher Cox. They are transitioning with Brandon Graham kind of becoming that situational pass rusher here in his later years of his career. But you have Fangio, whose system has proven to work really well. And even where they are a little deficient at linebacker, boy, a whole lot of linebackers have made a whole lot of money in Vic Fangio's system over the years.
One thing we've learned about the NFC East, the most consistent thing is inconsistency in terms of trying to get a repeat champion. What is this team talking about the way the season ended, JJ, and how they're trying to approach it and being competitive and winning the division this time around?
So I noted earlier how Nick Sirianni just kind of went through everything that happened last year. And while he may not be willing to divulge exactly what the changes are going to be for this team, I know when he broke down the huddle out here in what was a very, very hot and humid day, I feel like the shirt has kind of stuck to me. I feel like Bryant McFadden on any given day. What he said out here with this group was, I appreciate the attitude, the effort, the preparation. This was the third straight day in practice. It was a bit of a longer one, an hour, 40-ish minutes, and he didn't see any drop-off in that attitude, in that energy from any of his guys. And that, I believe, gives the coaching staff a whole lot of hope moving forward with this group that, hey, this is something that maybe we didn't have this at the tail end of last year. And this is where you build that. Of course, they still have 3 exhibitions to get through. They still have, of course, week 1 and everything, all the expectations around this team. But to have a very hot and humid day like today, to not have a drop-off, I think that's giving the Eagles a whole lot of positive thoughts, positive vibes, if you will. And then when you look around the NFC East, you have an Eagles team that a whole lot of people know that they, and these guys know one another, right? Saquon Barkley has become fast friends with Jalen Hurts. We talked about that a little bit earlier. There's some good quality trash talk that's going on out here, and you win up front. And one thing that Howie Roseman, the general manager, has been able to do over his years here has put together some pretty solid offensive and defensive lines. So they're standing and stationed in the NFC East. Well, they don't have the contract issues that the Dallas Cowboys do. They certainly don't have a rookie quarterback like the Washington Commanders, and, you know, they kind of took the best player from the New York Giants. So I like what I have seen so far from the Eagles.
JJ, you brought up Any Given Sunday, so I have to bring it up before I let you go. You got to give me some type of steam and Willie Beam and goodbye before we say adieu, my friend.
I wish. You know what, Tommy? It is so hot. I've dropped a pop culture reference in there earlier that I didn't get a reaction from you. I kind of made a joke at Brian McFadden's expense a little bit ago. I didn't get a reaction from you audibly. So no, I give you nothing in return, and I move on to the next camp.
Fair enough. Thank you, JJ. All right, Jonathan Jones been continuing his training camp tour. A reminder about the NFL on CBS. Week 1, key games on Paramount Plus. Arizona at Buffalo, Jacksonville at Miami, and the Raiders at the Chargers.